but then really a challenge. Now Haines, now this is just south of Skagway, and this is very interesting. There's a cultural center there. Unfortunately, they were closed. I'm going to try to drop in on them, but it was very interesting. Alaska Indian Arts, AIA. Here is their website and their phone number if you'd like to get involved. Their mission statement, there's a little plaque out here that I found really interesting. Dedication to the preservation and continuation of traditional native art forms and culture of the Northwest Coast tribes. So with all these, myself, I live in a small indigenous Mayan town in Guatemala, Santa Maria de Jesus, and my prayers are with them because they were struck by an earthquake just 3 days ago that's really hurt the community. So they're banding together there, but they're really much on my mind. But preservation of culture is a big thing for me. I think it's so critical, you know, from an artistic standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, to carry on these traditions. And there was a time when local languages were not permitted in the public schools there. You know, once they became part of the U.S., sadly, immediately we tried to do away with their heritage. Gratefully now, you know, they embraced that over the years. That's been welcomed back. And I think you'll find the locals too have really come to re-embrace their culture and be proud of that again. And that's so important. Sometimes we lose sight of that or can overrun communities. I think that's a sad thing. But in this case, this is a center to really honor their heritage. And again, I'm going to read this really quickly for those of you, myself too, I need my glasses now, but I thought this was a beautiful statement on the plaque there regarding a field trip that these folks took. So half of our kids in our Boy Scout troop were from the mission here, who were always very unhappy about being Indian. They never wanted to be called Indian. When we began to get those kids to go out there and talk to the elders in their village about their background, their heritage, they began to show a little bit of interest. And then about that time, we went to the Intertribal Indian Ceremonial of Gallup, New Mexico in 1959 to Fort Tlingit dance. There we sort of walked off for the grand prize. Very humble about that. And the Indian kids all of a sudden saw that they were being looked on by 15,000 other Indians. And when they came home, everybody was saying, "I am an Indian." And it went from there. That's from Carl Heinmiller, the founder. I think it's a really beautiful statement of re-embracing their culture and being proud of that again and not losing sight of where they came from. Now there they also do totem pole carving, and again in Ketchikan we're going to see a lot of this. There's 4 centers I'll show you in just a second. This is usually red cedar, the preferred word for that, which we're going to see a lot going through Endicott Arm and throughout our journey through the Tongass National Forest. Largest national forest in America, 17 million acres. 4 main crests of the Tsimshian Nation: eagle, wolf, killer whale, and raven. Now these are used to identify lineages and tell their stories. Each crest is associated with specific symbols and stories, which I'll show you in a sec, which are prominently featured in art, ceremonies, and social structures like potlatches. Potlatch is a ceremony that can celebrate all kinds of different things. Could be a birth, could be a death, could just be any happy occasion. Potlatch ceremony is very common. Sharing of gifts, giving away of riches oftentimes within the community. This is an artist I really enjoy. I wanted to share this with you. Daisy Demantieff. She passed on, I think, in 2018 or so, sadly. But she makes these beautiful woven baskets. Birch bark split willow root baskets. And she had a story there where she used to go with her grandma down the river looking for the perfect willow tree. And she'd take a wedge, you know, another branch, and use that as a wedge to pull these roots out, looking for the exact right root to construct these with, because they can take months or even years for her to construct. Athabascan artist, which also includes the northern, Alaska, and western Canada, Pacific coast. And interesting, I didn't know this, southwestern U.S., including the Navajo and Apache, are also considered part of the Athabascan tribes. Excuse me. Here she is. I love this portrait of her. This one basket she worked on for 3 years. But just incredible tonality. And I love the symmetry in this as well. You see a lot of that in art and architecture. Also in Native American art, you'll see this kind of symmetry. The details really just amazing. And the textures as well almost looks like wood. These interwoven baskets here, mating baskets. gorgeous. This one's my favorite, almost looks like leather. And this is Ken Decker, Tsimshian artist, born in Ketchikan, studio in Juneau. So when you get to Juneau, if you go out, let me picture this here. I believe it'd be to your, yes, I know because I ran back to the ship to make it in time before they sailed away last time. Be to your right, just about 5 minutes. He has a studio on the corner. Used to be a couple blocks away, but he's moved there with his wife. Beautiful little studio. I encourage you to go in there. I don't get royalties from anybody or anything like that. I just want to pass on the love because these folks are immensely talented and have such respect for their own cultures. I think it's a great thing to partake of while you're there. So he's just to the right, a few blocks down. Here he is doing his thing. That's the first picture I took coming in. Really, you can tell just how invested he is in his culture and his own art, you know, how focused he is. I shot that one just as I came in. I always shoot with my professional cameras, but I have to admit, even I'm starting to shoot more with a cell phone because it's so easy to tote around, and it doesn't do a bad job at all in a lot of things, really. Here's one that he was making. So when I walked in, he was working on this drum. This is an 8-inch drum, which is a pretty small drum. I'm also a drummer. If we have time, we're going to get a little bit of that in today as well. But this is a child's drum, 8-inch. A lot of them are 12, 14, and even 16-inch drums, like a modern floor tom, but hand painting there delicately. And as we said, this is from the Eagle tribe, which he's part of. So very proud of that. Look at the detail. You know, with everything so modern now and being mass produced, it's wonderful to see independent artists making things still by hand with love and care and tradition. There he is, coming up to shoot one with me. He was very receptive, he was very kind, very generous in allowing me to share with him just for a little bit. I only had 20 minutes, but it was a very interesting conversation. I'm going to go back and say hi this time. So if he's there personally, and he often is, try to spend a little time with him. There's so much knowledge and so much to learn, especially from an artistic and cultural end. Really interesting guy. Here is his information if you'd like to get in touch, and there's an actual address there. I believe that's a studio address there, but again, it's just off the ship and to the right about 3 or 4 blocks. But there's his contact info if you'd like to say hi or set up an appointment. I'm sure you could also shoot him a note, tell him we're going to be in town, and see if you can hook up with him. Okay, so totem poles. I'll go over this just briefly, but basically embody their cultural identity.